Alright guys, welcome back to the channel and the last scenario here. So we made it all the way. Scenario 12 or sectors, or you can just also call it table quarters because that's kind of what we're doing on this one. But let's take a look. So we get a blank map basically, because again, really it's going to be focusing so much on that deployment. So what do we do here? So there's a fair bit of setup. So divide the table into quarters as per the map. Both players roll a die. The high scorer picks a table or long table side and one of the quarters on his side of the table. Then he declares which of his units, if any, are being left in reserve. This can be up to half the units in the army rounding down. Other player basically gets the opposite quarter of the table, does the same, and then once both players have declared which units are in reserve, they deploy the other units. Both players then put an order die in the bag for every unit not in reserve and therefore needs to be deployed. Then you draw a die and you start deploying in your table quarter at least 12 from the center of the map. Units can use the hidden setup rules for this as well, and basically you continue to do that until all units that are not in reserve have been set up, and then reserves are not allowed to outflank in this scenario because you can kind of already, with the quarter setup, sort of outflank on board as you come on and all that stuff, but not like a typical outflank basically. So the objectives here, both sides basically have to try and seize as many table quarters as possible and inflict damage on the enemy. So we'll see some of the victory conditions here. This is another one that involves a preparatory bombardment. And so, however, instead of just being like just the attacker getting it, as we've seen lately, actually both players will kind of get to preparatory bombard each other. So fun if it goes off for both players. Now it does suck if only one player ends up getting it. And that can be a little bit rough and certainly hamper the person who is on the receiving end of that. But a fun way to kick things off, and often results in both sides already starting kind of bloodied, or certainly with some pin markers, if nothing else. So first turn, aside from the preparatory bombardment, nothing else is special here. We just start the game basically, and this will be another one where we'll start checking on 6 to see if it goes on. So this is one though that can actually potentially go on basically for 2 extra turns. So minimum of 6, potentially 8. Okay. And now lastly here, victory. At the end of the game, calculate which side has won by adding up victory points. And again, if you score more than 2, it's a win. Otherwise, it's a draw. So then you score 1 victory point for every enemy unit destroyed. You also get 1 for each of your own units that's completely inside one of the 2 neutral table quarters. And then 3 victory points for each of your units that is completely in the enemy quarter of the table. If the unit straddles across 2 or more sectors, it counts in the quarters where the majority of its models are. So basically you're going to have to pick one. You can't have one unit essentially claim 2 table quarters at once, just to keep things kind of fair there. And then if in doubt, basically just roll a die for it. So pretty cool scenario in the sense then, again, we got a unique deployment from what we've seen so far, coupled with not just sort of kill points in the sense of, we got to destroy enemy units, and that will obviously help clear them off of table quarters. But then we do also want to sort of occupy specific parts of the map, right? So again, we can go for 1-pointers in the neutral corners, and we do want to ideally score some things by getting into the opponent's zone. That's going to be tough, of course, because you're going to be going their way, they're going to be coming your way. So that will be the toughest there. And again, you want to mitigate your own losses as well, because then you're handing points to the enemy. So some pretty cool stuff here. Again, we can also look at all kinds of various ways to modify that, and this is a really just good scenario for that. So again, we could play it with or without the preparatory bombardment. If you want to make sure both players sort of start on absolutely equal footing, you can make sure that essentially both players always get the preparatory bombardment and don't even roll for it. As far as whether you get it or not, you could also throw in maybe some specific points that have to be held in the table quarters to maybe either score additional points or things like that. You could throw in the sort of take out a VIP from one of the earlier missions, right? Or take out or capture, we should say. And again, on top of all that, again, we can throw in a lot of the usual modifiers we've talked about, playing this in different weather and time of day conditions, and just depending on the theater as well, could add in a lot of fun variations to this. Playing this on like a Western front versus playing it with a lot of the jungle rules and things from the Pacific theater campaign books and all that, just is going to be a vastly different experience. So this is probably one of the best missions out of the 12 in my opinion, but yours may vary. But let us know, guys, in the comments what your thoughts are on sectors and how you play it, and if you've done anything interesting to, again, just add a little variety to it. But overall, I think this is definitely one of the strongest scenarios in the entire book. So let us know your thoughts in the comments. As always, guys, hit that like and subscribe. We're pushing on towards 600 subs, and we just want to keep on going and maintain that momentum. And then also, if you do want to support the channel, check out the link in the description. And if you pop over to Warlord from there and pick up anything, that does help support us. So appreciate everybody who does that. So thanks so much for sticking with us through this series. I hope you enjoyed our little tour here of the basic scenarios. We're going to cover some other aspects of sort of the core rules and other things like that from the book, and then start putting up some sort of demo videos explaining a lot of those concepts and just basic aspects of the game, and some basic, just like tips and strategies and tactics and things like that, and maybe even some just good ways to start building your various forces. So, but that's all coming down the road, guys. Again, thanks so much for sticking with us, and hope you appreciated the videos, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.